What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another college football bowl preview video. For this one, we've got one of the most highly anticipated bowls of all of bowl season. We've got the Orange Bowl that will feature the Texas A&M Aggies, who many people believe were snubbed from that final college football playoff ranking. So do I, to be honest with you, taking on the 8-3 North Carolina Tar Heels in that high-powered offense. Now, I'm really looking forward to this one, and other than the two semifinal games, this has been the bowl that I've been looking forward to the most, without a doubt, and I'm pumped to be breaking this one down. But before we get into it, as always, guys, if you enjoy the videos that I make, please feel free to drop a like, maybe even subscribe. It would help the channel out so much, and I would appreciate it greatly. I just want to start off by saying that I think it's great to see these two programs back in the spotlight, playing in games that they deserve to be playing in, and really that they should be playing in. Both these teams had a lot of success in the first half of this decade, but then it all kind of fell apart, and they really slugged their way through the second half of this decade, and were really underachieving with their former coaches, Kevin Sumlin for Texas A&M and Larry Fedora for UNC. Then both UNC and Texas A&M just finally said enough is enough and decided to make a big-time hire, with A&M bringing in longtime FSU head coach Jimbo Fisher, and UNC hiring former coach and coaching legend in the sport, Mac Brown. And really, when you think about what both Jimbo and Mac have been able to do in their short time at both A&M and UNC, it's pretty impressive, and they've done almost a complete 180. I mean, think about it. If 3 or 4 years ago somebody came up to you and said Texas A&M and UNC will be playing each other in the Orange Bowl, you probably would have told them that they were crazy. Well, maybe not for A&M so much, because they have a little bit more history and tradition, and Jimbo didn't seem as much of a crazy hire at the time. But just what both Mac and Jimbo have been able to do and turn things around so quickly, that's just a testament to how great both those guys are. Shifting gears to the actual game here, there's a lot of people wondering just how motivated Texas A&M will be for this one after getting snubbed from the college football playoff in favor of Notre Dame. But I honestly believe the exact opposite. I think that Texas A&M will be more motivated than ever to prove to everyone that they should have been that 4th seed over Notre Dame. And most importantly, that I think A&M is going to take full advantage of. They get the chance to prove it against one of Notre Dame's biggest wins of the season, UNC. And for that reason, I think that Texas A&M is going to be out for blood in this one. As for UNC, they could potentially find themselves in a ton of trouble in this one, as they will have to deal with that stout Texas A&M defense without their two all-conference running backs, who are also both 1,000-yard rushers, Javonte Williams and Michael Carter, who both decided to opt out of this one to focus on their NFL futures. And on top of that, third-string running back DJ Jones is going to be out with a foot injury. And on top of that, UNC will also be without their top wide receiver, Damani Brown, as well as stud linebacker Chaz Surratt. So it's going to be tough sledding for UNC in this one. So with that depleted offense, UNC is going to have to turn lemons into lemonade if they want a chance in this one. On the bright side for UNC, they still have Sam Howell, who is undoubtedly one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He had an incredible season, throwing for 352 yards and 27 touchdowns through UNC's 11 games. And Sam Howell will have to be damn near perfect in this one if they want a shot to win this game. He's going to have to be ultra careful with the ball, because due to how much offensive production UNC is missing in this one, a single turnover could be costly. And I just, for the sheer fact that I don't know if they have enough talent with all that they're missing to dig themselves out of a hole of, say, 14 points, 21 points. I don't think that they can let the game get out of hand. And by out of hand in this one, I think out of hand would be anything over a 2-score game. I just don't think that they have the firepower to come back from a sizable deficit in this one. Another key piece of the game for UNC offensively is going to be making sure that Sam Howell gets the ball to his next two receivers, Daz Newsome and Kafari Brown. And those two guys, outside of Sam Howell, are arguably the most important pieces to the offense in this one, as those two guys are going to have to step up in a huge way due to Michael Carter being out, Javon Williams being out, Damani Brown being out. So, an opportunity is arising for Daz and Kafari to break out in a big way. And it's up to them to help Sam Howell out and step up to the challenge. So, I've mentioned Daz Newsome, I've mentioned Kafari Brown, and those two guys need to step up in a huge way to take some pressure off of Sam Howell. But arguably, in my mind, the most important factor on offense in this one is going to be the UNC offensive line. UNC's offensive line is going to have to play phenomenal in this one if they want a chance to move the chains offensively on a consistent basis. And that UNC offensive line is going to have its handful all night long. That Texas A&M defensive front is good. They've got some studs on that D-line. Bobby Brown III is an animal. And that Texas A&M pass rush is ferocious. And all I can say is that UNC's offensive line is going to have their hands full, and they need to do everything they can to keep those Aggies off of Sam Howell and out of his face so that he can settle in and find his receivers Daz Newsome and Kafari Brown and some of his other guys that are going to need to step up big time in this one. Shifting gears to Texas A&M here, they like to play a very physical and tough style of football, and leading the charge is that big ol' offensive line who paves the way for star sophomore running back Isaiah Spiller. Isaiah Spiller rushed for just under 1,000 yards this season to go along with 7 touchdowns, picking up first-team All-SEC honors along the way. I'm definitely expecting Isaiah Spiller to have a huge game Saturday night, and I could easily see him going for well over 100 yards due to a great performance by the A&M offensive line, who should have its way with North Carolina's defensive front. As for the A&M passing attack, while they definitely aren't bad through the air, it's definitely not their preferred choice of a way to move the ball. Senior quarterback Kellen Mond has been pretty good this year. He's thrown for just over 2,000 yards, as well as passing for 19 touchdowns, and has been pretty careful with the ball, not making many mistakes. He's only thrown 3 interceptions. As long as he can find his big old tight end Jalen Weidermeyer, who has been his favorite target all season long, I see no reason why this Texas A&M offense can't have a big night against the UNC defense, who has not been that good this season. The UNC defense has struggled. They're giving up about 28 points a game, and it's prone to giving up the big play. They're near the bottom. I know they're near the bottom of the ACC in terms of giving up the big play, which would be giving up plays over, I'm pretty sure, 40 yards. And as well, UNC is also bad in the red zone, which is going to make matters even worse. Playing against a physical team, Texas A&M goes as far as their run game and their big offensive line. The offensive line is really the engine that pushes this offense. So when A&M's in the red zone, they're going to count on that big physical offensive line to punch the rock in for Isaiah Spiller. And at that point, UNC is already bad in the red zone. I think it could be bad. I think they could get pushed around even more down there. So when all is said and done, I strongly believe that Texas A&M is going to come out with a dominant win in this one, as I think they're just going to be able to run the ball all over UNC pretty much all night long, as I just think UNC's defensive front is no match for Texas A&M's offensive line, who is one of the best in the SEC and one of the best in the nation. And, with both teams at full strength, I think the game would be more competitive, and I think it would be really fun to see Javonte Williams and Michael Carter go up against this defensive front that A&M has, but that's not the case. So, yeah, without those two guys, it really makes things tougher for UNC, and I could really see Texas A&M winning this one by 2 or 3 touchdowns. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. That's my final take on the Orange Bowl, which I think Texas A&M is going to be winning in pretty dominant fashion. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and maybe even subscribe to my channel. I'm constantly trying to put out new videos like this, so it would be great if you guys could stick around for some of them, as I feel like I've got some pretty good ones planned coming up. But anyways, that does it for today's video. Until next time, I'm out.